I am your host, Alan Peterson. Welcome to a new episode of Meet the Thriller Author, the podcast that is dedicated to interviewing authors of the genre that I write in and that I love to read, which is thrillers, mysteries, spy thrillers, detective, crime fiction, hard-charging action stories. Those are the type of authors that we will be meeting in this podcast. And for this episode, number 17, you'll be meeting Ethan Jones, who is the author of the very popular Justin Hall spy thriller series, which has 8 books in that series so far. Ethan has also started a new spy series, the Carrie Chronicles, which features Justin Hall's partner Carrie O'Connor in her own solo adventures. So he's got those 2 series going, and I'm excited to talk to Ethan. Ethan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
I have a day job, so writing it's not still my full-time job. Hopefully, in the near future, Lord willing, I work as a lawyer, so that's my day job, and I try to make time to write whenever I can squeeze a few minutes here and there.
For listeners who haven't read any of your books, can you describe your novels?
Sure. So I have a couple of series. They're spy thrillers. The first one that has 8 books, of course, I've put more time into that one. It's about the Justin Hall series. So Justin Hall is the main character. He's a Canadian security intelligence spy who, as all good spies, are trying to save the world and keep Canada and also the rest of the humanity safe from terrorists and all sorts of evil threats.
And do your books, do they take place like all over the world, or are they usually in Canada?
They take place all over the world. It depends on where the storyline goes. One of the most recent one, book number 7, took place mostly in Canada. The title is Homeland, so it reflects the Canadian reality.
I have the first book in your series on my to-read list because I love reading about, almost all the books are always at the CIA. So, like mine's the CIA. So it's kind of cool to read about other countries' spies. And I haven't come any across Canada. So that's a really cool hook, in my opinion, a little difference.
That was actually exactly my thought when I started. I didn't know whether I should have an FBI agent or a CIA agent, but I grew up reading spy stories, and as you say, very rarely you see someone who's not either an American or British or Israeli and Russians. They're pretty much all the spies all over the world. And the more I read, the more I realized that Canada actually, not because it's my home country now, but it does play a big role in the international arena. So I thought, why not give it some credit and create a few fictional characters that are actually Canadians.
And is the Canadian agency that he works for, it's the real one, the real Canadian agency?
No, okay. The real Canadian agency, it's domestic, so it would be like the FBI. Oh, okay. Funny thing, Canada does not really have a agency to mirror the CIA, so the spying, it's mostly done through other different departments. So there isn't actually a real, like the CIA or the MI6 counterparts in the US or in the UK.
And so why did you start writing thrillers? Were you a fan of the genre before you started writing thrillers?
Yes, that's the genre of most of the books that I like to read or listen to, and the books that I grew up on, as well as movies or TV shows. So pretty much everything that has spies and action, I've either watched or read or read about it or watched documentaries about it. So I've always wanted to write in that category.
And how long have you been writing for?
I've been writing, I'm published coming up on the 4th year in May, and I've been writing a little over 5 or 6 years. I tried to go the traditional route of getting published, but that didn't go anywhere. So then a friend of mine said, why don't you try to self-publish? And here we are.
And those were the Justin Hall books that you went through originally?
Yeah, Arctic War Game, the first one in the series, I actually got a couple of agents interested, and they read the full manuscript. But that was the end of that. So I never got any feedback. You know how it is; they kind of just
Hmm.
send you a note after 6 months or so. Sorry, we're not interested, without really telling you. So, like, is it the characters? Is it the plot? Is it, the middle that is sagging? It just, I never really received that constructive feedback I was looking for.
Yes, that's great. So you just decided to say, "Yeah, I'll just do it myself." That's a great thing of the last few years with the changes in the publishing industry.
Yeah, a friend of mine, he's actually another author, and so he suggests that, he's like, "Why don't you do it? They're just collecting digital dust in your drawers." I had a couple of books at the time, because as I was shopping the first one, I was working on the second. So the first two books actually came quite close in the series, and I think that helped kickstart the series. So I published the first one May 2012, and then the next one October of the same year.
Do you usually publish more than one book a year since then?
I try to be consistent and have one every 4 months or so. It's a little bit hard at times with my schedule, and but I try to be as consistent as possible.
And so now you had mentioned that you had been a fan of the genre before you started writing. What were some of your favorite thriller authors, and did they influence the way you write today?
They do. They do a lot. Sometimes when I read, I'm like, "Hey, I've done that," or this author has done something similar to one of my books. So Brad Thor is one that I really like. I enjoy his works. Vince Flynn was also a great author. I like Daniel Baldacci. Sorry, David Baldacci. So those would be three of the favorites in the genre, and then I read also outside the genre, legal thrillers, romantic suspense, things like that.
Oh yeah, those are some of my favorite thriller writers as well. Have you read the new Vince Flynn book that wasn't written after he died? There's a new author now.
No, I haven't gotten a chance to read that yet. I think it has gotten some mixed reviews.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't read it either. I have a friend who read it, and he said it was pretty close, but I don't know if you can. I mean, Vince Flint was one of a kind, I think.
Yeah, he was a master of the genre. So whenever you have extremely large shoes to fill, that's especially in the eyes of the fans, right? It's
Yeah.
you're used to a certain style, and then the author is not there anymore. So I've also heard that sometimes when authors co-author with either dead or alive authors, like Tom Clancy, for example, or other ones, also the fans don't seem to move to the new authors' individual books. So you may be writing to the fans of Tom Clancy, the millions, but that doesn't mean that they will actually move to your own books that are under your own name.
Yeah, they probably don't even see the other author's name. They probably just see that Tom Clancy, and
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be tough.
Yeah, and also you know how it is in the cover, right? Tom Clancy's name is like 4 inches, and then
Yeah,
your name is just not even half an inch there, right?
yeah, with John Doe and tiny little letters.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what inspired you to write your first book?
Well, I have a master's in law degree, and when I was working on that one, I had to write this huge 150 pages thesis. It taught me, or it showed me, that I could actually write a full length document. I mean, this one wasn't a bestseller. It will never be. It's a thesis you write for your for credit at school. So years ago, I learned that I can actually write and hopefully write well. So that rekindled my desire to go into writing. And then about 6 or so months later, as I was in the process of thinking, I read a book from a very famous author that I found very disappointing. So as I finished the book, which never went anywhere, I said, "Hey, I can do this, and I can probably do much better." So of course the fans can tell, and I've gotten some excellent feedback over the years. But I think I've created some decent books out there.
Yeah, how many books do you have published so far?
I have 8 in the Justin Hall series, and I have 1 in the Carrie Chronicles, which is another spy series. And then I tried my hand on romantic suspense. So I've written 1 in the Jennifer Morgan romantic suspense series.
Oh wow! So you've been busy with, especially with your full time job and all this and publishing all these books. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I tell people when they ask about time, because that's finding the time is one of the so-called secrets of writing, right? If you can't find the time, then of course you're not going to put anything on the page. So I do most of my writing actually when I commute to work. I have a little over an hour each way going to work. So I sit at the back of the bus. I have my laptop on, and I use my briefcase as a mobile table. So I'm not on the internet. So I pretty much have about 40 to 45 good minutes that I can put on a good day. Like today, going to work and coming back, it was a little over 2,000, a little under 2,000 words. So that's pretty good. I'm quite happy with that.
Oh yeah, that's a great 2,000 word day. Is I'll take that any day of the of the week.
It's not always. Sometimes, you have a baby crying in the bus,
Yeah.
or the person next to you wants to chat, or sometimes you just don't have the inspiration. So some days are 200, 300 word days. But, whenever I'm blessed, like today or Friday, I was almost close to 1,500. So that one was a good number as well.
Do you write every day?
I try to. Yesterday, I wasn't able to write, but I wrote today and I wrote Friday. So I try to make a point. Even sometimes I write during my lunch break, or sometimes I wake up in the morning or late at night. So writing on the bus, it's not the only place or the only time that I write. But yeah, I I try very hard to write every day, Monday to Friday.
And where do you get your ideas for your books?
I try to follow the news because my books reflect some of what's going on in the international arena about terrorism. So I follow closely the developments in the Middle East, what's going on in Syria and Iraq and other hot areas in that region. And interesting enough, some of the cycle of violence, sadly, but also interestingly, tends to repeat. So even though I might write about, let's say an assassination attempt on a president or a prime minister, that's not something that has only happened once and will only happen once, right? So you can see if you read the news or if you watch shows that the area it's very volatile. So events that happened 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, there is a great likelihood that they will repeat again in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we learned from our mistakes. I remember as a kid in the '70s, there was a lot of terrorism, and yeah, you're right. Now it seems the last 10 years or so has come back full circle.
Yeah, and I try not to date the works. So the series is actually set in about 5 to 8 years in the future. So in one of the books, the new president of the United States is discussed, and it's a she. So of course we know it's not right now, and I don't know if it's going to be in the next year or not, but we'll have to see for that.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea. So you're writing in the future. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I refer to events like the spread of ISIS or the Taliban or other events, I have to make sure that the language is not specific, right? So I say the resurfacing of the Taliban or the resurfacing of ISIS, and of course, as history has shown, most people can remember the mission accomplished a couple of months after the invasion of Iraq, right? And 11, 12 years later, we're still fighting the terrorists. So even if ISIS is destroyed and mission accomplished is declared, let's say, next year, I'm sure not all the terrorists will disappear. So some of them will probably resurface under another banner in the same area or in other areas in Africa or Asia or even elsewhere.
And are your books? Do you worry about like the politics, like if you're going to offend the readers, or do you try to keep that out?
I've actually offended a few readers,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, my reviews, especially the early reviews, called some of the books anti-American, because some of the villains in the books were Americans. They were not the only ones. I mean, they're Russian villains, they're Saudi villains. Every great story needs to have some villains, right?
Hmm.
And the specific books in question, the first to the third, without giving too much of the plot, there are also some Canadian villains there as well. So in a sense, I've been kind of try to be as equal in portraying people that they can betray their own country or they can betray their country's interest. And if you read the reality, there are Americans and as well as Canadians who have been considered traitors and who have actually sold the secrets of their country for money. So offending people, it's something I guess that comes with the territory. You can never please everyone. I get reviews from people that say there's too much action, and then some people say there's not enough action.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. You can't please everybody, that's for sure. I was noticing on your Carrie Chronicle spy thriller series, did you find it more challenging to write with a female character versus a male protagonist as being a man? Or what were the challenges with that?
That's an excellent question, actually. Also, because you don't see a female character much in the genre or in the
Hmm.
action spy thriller. Usually, the female characters in this sort of genre are just minor characters, secondary, just for the sex or the trying to honeypot someone into giving away secrets. So I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to fall into the cliches. So Carrie's character is in the first book. She comes across as someone who is has her fragile side. So she's struggling with a relationship with her fiance. She's struggling with issues with her sick mom and the relationship with her sister. She's also trying to find out what happened to her dad. All this while she's trying to keep together her career as well. So I was looking for a character who wasn't superhuman, bounces off bullets and manages everything. So it's a character that I also try to give some Canadian flavor, and Canadians are known for teamwork. So I try mostly in the Justin Hall books to have him and Carrie operate as a team along with other characters. Now the Carrie series shows Carrie on solo adventures, so Justin doesn't appear there, but she always relies on other members of her team, so it's never really by herself.
Oh, but she did the character of Carrie appeared in the Justin Hall books first.
Right. She
Oh,
appeared.
okay.
Yeah, she's kind of
A
the side.
spin-off.
Yeah, the sidekick, so to speak, of Justin. She's kind of trying to keep him level-headed. So whenever Justin decides to do something, Carrie's always the voice of reason. Also bringing in sometimes being what's considered the devil's advocate, arguing the other side, kind of what might be the repercussions of these actions, or if we don't take certain actions.
Do you find like movies and television, pop culture, do they influence your novels?
They do, and I actually find out sometimes after I've written a scene or a book, and then I watch a movie, especially something that I've watched before, and I do notice some similarities. So one of my goals is to try to make sure that I don't read or I don't watch as much, or when I do, try to make sure that I don't recycle the plots. You don't want a reader to say, "Oh, I watched this on Covered Affairs or on Homeland," or Brad Thor's last book covered the same topics or the same plots.
And are there any similarities between you and your characters that you create?
I don't think so. Maybe subconsciously, Justin is the spy agent that I wanted to be if I were ever to be a spy agent. I almost went to military school. My dad wanted me to become a military officer, so that never went anywhere. I turned out to be a lawyer, make a living that way. But yeah, if I were a spy agent for the real Canadian agency, security agency. Yeah, I would want to be like Justin, just without the baggage that he has.
And what about your friends and family? Do you ever like name a character after a friend or?
I do sometimes, not really close friends, but I've done that sometimes, and it's a little head nod, like thank you for your support, buying my books. Here's one more reason to buy. There's a character there that either dies or appears just for a chapter or two. But I try not to put people there that end up dying, because sometimes that may be misunderstood.
And what are some of the challenges for you when you're writing, like doing the research or?
Some of the research it's difficult to do, because I talk about, or my characters go to places where even Google Maps don't really help. So, the mountainous regions of Pakistan is one of the areas that Carrie is traveling to in my current work in progress. So it's really difficult to describe the locales there. So I try to, whenever I can't find the information, I use my creative license and pretty much create a fictitious market, or sometimes even a fictitious small town, as long as it has the flavor of what we know, what people know about Pakistan or Afghanistan. And also, one thing that I found as I write, readers nowadays, compared to 50 or even 20 years ago, are much more knowledgeable about what's happening globally. So if I say, the mountainous areas of Afghanistan, and I give a couple of sentences to describe the area, the desert, and some of the flavors there. That's all that the readers need to know. I don't have to explain in details how you'd need to do 50 or 60 or even 20 years ago, when people couldn't access information. Nowadays, you can read the newspapers that are published in this country, so it's really easy. Let alone the 24-hour news networks, and I think we have over 10 or so going on at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing when you write something and then the reader says, "Oh yeah, I did that," or "I was there." I'm like, "Oh, it's incredible." What is your process then? Are you do you outline a lot, or do you just kind of just start writing?
I've grown to do more outline, because I find it helps. I know where the story is going. One of the things that I always know is the end. So before I even start writing the new story, I try to think and imagine where this story is gonna culminate and end. And of course, the main character is not gonna die, so I know that. But which one of the villains is going to go away unless I leave a cliffhanger, and how? So I have this huge scene in mind, and then I work backwards. So I try to put clues. So how is Carrie gonna learn this, or how is this person who is helping her going to get their hands on this information? And then moving backwards is like doing a puzzle, but not creating the puzzle, but trying to dismantle the puzzle. So you have it all finished, and then you remove the pieces and you put them in the individual chapters. I find the beginning of the story flows really well, and then the sagging middle. It's true. I have to go back and reread what I've written so far to make sure that it actually flows.
Since you're writing several series do you write on different series at the same time, or do you write on one and then move on to the next one?
I just started the Carrie series last, December 2014. So that's when I wrote the first book in the series. It was a novella, and then I wrote the first book in the Jennifer Morgan series. So the Romantic Suspense came out early 2015. And then I wrote two books in the Justin Hall series, number 7 and 8. And then I expanded the novella into a full length novel, the first book in Carrie's Chronicles. And now I'm working on the second one. So I try to alternate between the series so that I don't end up copying and pasting the same thing mentally, plot wise. I mean, and also it gives me some time to think where the character is going, and to let the plot brew, in a sense, on the back burner.
And I was just reading the description on your on the Jennifer Morgan series. So even though it's a romantic suspense, you're still kind of staying in the thriller world a little bit there. Suspense.
Yeah, it actually ended up having more suspense than romance there. I was writing a couple of scenes with when the main characters kiss, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like I haven't ever done that in a book. So yeah, that was it. It kind of the characters took their own spin. So as I've noticed, there's more suspense. So it would fall more in the. It could even be a mystery thriller because there is some. You know who the villain is from the start, but it's the story unfolds as how can Jennifer prove that the person is who she says it is.
So what keeps you writing? What keeps you going with the writing?
I like the feedback that I get from my fans. So the support and the feedback, the great feedback that I get, keeps me going. And I love what I'm doing. It's really good to wake up and to take characters into a new world. It's in a sense it allows me a chance to escape. And I'm sure it does the same for a lot of readers. We want to live vicariously through the eyes of the bravest amongst us. Some of these areas, even if I was paid my weight in gold, I wouldn't want to go. It's very dangerous, and we always hear about journalists or aid workers or businessmen that disappear. So these are areas that no one should go. And as we know, even the people living there, they do what they can to leave those areas, leave them for good. So it's pure entertainment. None of this is actually real in the sense of what the agents do, even though a lot of the background and a lot of the stories mirror and reflect what's actually happening in real life.
And how long does it take you to write a book from beginning to finishing it?
I aim for 4 months. Sometimes it takes about 4 to 6, because there's the editing and there's the beta reading and there's the proofreading there as well. So what I've tried to streamline the process and have my beta readers read as I write. But that creates sometimes the danger that I can't write as fast as my beta readers can actually read. So in the last couple of books, there were a period of time that they were asking me like, "Hey, where are the next chapters?" And I didn't have them ready. So it's this fine balance. Yeah, it's this fine balance of trying to not have the eager readers ready, and you don't have anything to feed them.
Yeah, that's a little pressure when they're asking you for the next chapter. You're like, it's coming.
Yeah, so I try to give them between 10 and 20 pages every week, and that allows me, on a very good week, I can do that. I can write 10 to 20 pages a week and polish and revise it and make sure that the beta readers can actually enjoy them, because it's not a lot of fun to stumble on every other word that has an error, or the character's hair color changes or the eye color changes on from one paragraph to the other.
Do you still find time to read yourself, or this is like you have a busy schedule?
I've moved more into listening. So on my blog, I used to do book reviews. I was interviewing writers, mostly traditionally published, but also the occasional independent author, and review books as well. So I moved away from that. I don't do book reviews. It takes a lot of time, and I don't really have the time. But audiobooks, I really like them because I can listen whenever I take my dog out or whenever I shovel snow. I live in Canada, so we get 6-7 months of snow shoveling. It's our outdoor sports, I guess. Instead of workout, you go outside and you shovel for half an hour. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, and it's you can always do that, whether you're on the bus or waiting in line somewhere, or pretty much whenever you can steal 10-15 minutes.
Are your books available in audio as audiobooks?
No, they're not. It's something that I'm looking into, and the main obstacle that I found is the lack of places to promote the audiobook. So most of the readers, your listeners probably know about BookBub, one of the largest promotional websites. I haven't seen anything like that for audiobooks. Also, the royalty structure is not as good as it is with digital media. So once those two things have worked themselves, then definitely I'll take my chances with audiobooks as well.
How do you interact with your readers?
I have a blog where I try to update it as often as possible. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been able to put a little note almost on a daily basis. I love to get emails from fans. I totally love email, and I make promises wherever my books are available that I will answer all emails, even those emails that uh, may not be as pleasant as others. But yeah, I'm on Facebook as well. I'm on Twitter.
And what about with the writing community? Do you interact with other writers?
Yeah, the only writer community that I'm on, it's on keyboards. So I really enjoy the fraternity there.
And so, can you tell us a little bit about your current work in progress right now, or what you're working on? What's coming up soon?
Sure. So the tentative date is April 12th, and you know how it is with at least with Amazon, you have to meet the line, or you're in the detention for a year. So I'm aiming to get the second Kerry Chronicles novel out at that time. So the name, it's codename Makarov, like the Russian pistol. And in this one, Carrie, from the Just All series and also her own first book, Carrie is looking to find out what happened to her dad. So she knows that her dad disappeared, and he was eventually killed in the Soviet Union, but she doesn't know the details. And she knows she's learned a few things, but she in this book she will actually learn exactly the truth. So we'll find out who the this agent that goes by codename Makarov is, and how is he involved in Carrie's father
And
disappearance.
that's available for a pre-sale.
It is available for pre-order on not on Amazon. I still haven't finalized it, although there is a date there. But on all the other retailers, Kobo, Smashwords, iTunes, Barnes and Nobles, Google Play, it's available, and it's $2.99. So that's not going to be the final price. So you know, if you want to pre-order it and you want to save a couple of dollars.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll of course, if people are listening on here, I'll have links on the website too, where they can get it and all that good stuff. Because everyone likes a good thriller, and saving a couple bucks, that's nice. That's a bonus. Is there anything else before I let you go? Is there anything else that you can tell us that you want to tell the listeners?
I'd love to hear their thoughts. I'm always looking for ideas for things that can be covered in my stories. So I've changed a few things based on readers' feedback, especially the ones that have the background in either espionage or military, which unfortunately I don't. I try to learn as much as I can. But if you have ideas, things that you want to tell me, something that worked in my stories, or something that I totally got wrong, by all means, please drop me an email and let me know. And
Oh yeah, and I just noticed that if they subscribe to your mailing list on your website, they get Triple E's Target, huh?
they do, yeah. So they Arctic is actually, I just made it free for in conjunction with a promotion I'm gonna run soon. But yeah, the first book in Just in All series, it's free on all retailers, and if you sign up for the mailing list, you can get the second one for free. And being in the mailing list gives you news about promotions, new releases. I also have a couple of teams, the advanced reader team and the ambassadors team. So you can drop me a note and you can learn what I offer if you want to be a part of those teams.
All right. Well, Ethan, I want to thank you very much for being on the show and telling us about your work. Much appreciated.
Thanks so much. Appreciate, and have a good evening.
You can learn more about Ethan Jones and his work and sign up for his mailing list. You can get those free books at his website at ethanjonesbooks.wordpress.com. And I'll have links to that on the website on the show notes. Thank you for listening to this episode of Meet the Thriller Author. You can visit our site at get.thrillingreads.com/podcast for more information on our podcasts. And you can also subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcatcher, like iTunes, the most popular one, of course. Just search for Meet the Thriller Author and you'll find me there. And I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/Meet Thriller Author. Love to hear from you. Love to hear your comments and your feedbacks on the shows. And I'll have a new podcast, new interview with a thriller author. I'll be posting them every Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. And don't forget to subscribe. And please visit my author website at alanpeterson.com.